A doctor flies his wife to Hawaii for her birthday. He plans a romantic hike along one of Oahu's most stunning cliffside trails, 700 feet above the ground, and then, according to prosecutors, he tries to push her off the edge. When that doesn't work, he beats her in the head with a rock 10 times while she screams for help. 2 hikers hear the screams and run toward them. If they hadn't been on that trail at that exact moment, Arielle Konig would almost certainly be dead. Instead, she survived. And her husband, a respected anesthesiologist, is now on trial for attempted murder. The trial of Gerhardt Konig started just 2 days ago in Honolulu, and court TV is broadcasting every minute of it. This case has everything: a doctor, a birthday trip, a cliffside attack, a syringe allegation, a phone call confession, and 2 completely different versions of what happened on that trail. The prosecution says this was a premeditated murder attempt, that Gerhardt Konig lured his wife to a remote trail in paradise and tried to kill her because he believed she was having an affair. The defense says Arielle attacked first and Gerhardt was defending himself. Arielle Konig is expected to take the stand next week, but what's already come out in testimony is enough to keep you up at night. This is the full breakdown. Gerhardt Konig, 47, was an anesthesiologist at Maui Memorial Hospital. By all external accounts, he was a respected physician, well-liked, successful, the kind of doctor colleagues described as beloved. He and his wife, Arielle, had children together and were living on Maui. But behind the surface, the marriage was fracturing. Several months before the incident, Gerhardt discovered what he described as flirty WhatsApp messages between Arielle and a male co-worker. He confronted her. They went to couples counseling. But Gerhardt couldn't let it go. The prosecution alleges that in the months leading up to the attack, Konig became increasingly obsessive. He started researching Arielle's finances. He looked into the cost of his prior divorce. He told his son he was at the end of my rope. Prosecutors say he was not trying to save his marriage. He was planning how to end it permanently. The defense tells a different story. They say the couple was in a rough patch, that both were emotional, and that what happened on the trail was the result of a volatile argument, not a premeditated murder plot. On March 24th, 2025, Arielle's birthday, the couple flew to Oahu. Gerhardt planned a hike on the Pali Puka Trail, a popular but narrow ridgeline trail near the Pali Lookout. The trail runs along a steep ridge with sheer drops on both sides, some as high as 700 feet. According to the prosecution, Arielle was nervous on the trail. She wanted to turn back before reaching the popular lookout point. But they kept going. What happened next depends on who you believe. The prosecution says Gerhardt Konig attacked his wife on the narrow ridge. He tried to push her toward the cliff edge. When she resisted, he grabbed a jagged rock and struck her in the head, repeatedly.
Arielle later said he hit her approximately 10 times, smashing her face into the ground while grabbing the back of her head. She also claims she saw what appeared to be a syringe in his hand at one point, a detail the defense disputes, as no syringe was ever recovered from the scene.
The defense says Arielle brought up her relationship with a co-worker during the hike, leading to an argument. They claim she shoved him first near the cliff edge, that she picked up a rock and struck him, and that he reacted in what they call a human reflex, hitting her back before stopping. But here's what's not in dispute. By the time it was over, Arielle Konig was covered in blood with severe lacerations to her face and head, and she was screaming. 2 nurses, Sarah Buxbaum and Amanda Morris, had just started their hike on the Pali Puka Trail when they heard screaming.
They thought someone had fallen.
When they reached the source of the screams, they found Gerhardt Konig standing over Arielle.
Amanda Morris testified in court. Yes, he was hitting her with a rock.
The hikers shouted that they were calling 911.
Gerhardt stopped. He moved away from Arielle. The 2 women helped Arielle, bleeding heavily, with significant head injuries, down the narrow trail to safety.
Both hikers testified that Arielle was pleading not to be left behind. She was terrified her husband would come back.
Prosecutors said it plainly in their opening statement. If those 2 hikers had not been on that trail at that exact moment, Arielle Konig would be dead.
Gerhardt Konig fled in the opposite direction into the forest. While a manhunt was underway across the Pali area, Gerhardt Konig made a FaceTime call to his 19-year-old son, Emil. He was covered in blood. He wanted his son to see him.
I'm not going to make it back. I tried to kill Ari, but she got away. She's been cheating on me for the last several months. I'm at the end of my rope.
Then he called back. He asked Emil if he'd told anyone.
I'm going to jump, Konig said. I gotta hang up so the police don't find me. He said he was turning his phone off.
The prosecution considers this a confession. A father calling his son to say goodbye and admitting in plain language that he tried to kill his wife. The defense frames it as the words of a man in emotional crisis. Not a calculated admission, but a panicked, distraught reaction after a fight that spiraled out of control. Hours later, officers found Gerhardt Konig leaving the forest. He was arrested and charged with second-degree attempted murder. He has been held without bail ever since. The trial opened on March 20th with emotional testimony and graphic evidence. Court TV has titled it Trouble in Paradise, and the name fits. The prosecution's case rests on several pillars: the severity of Arielle's injuries, the eyewitness testimony from the two hikers, the phone call to his son, and the alleged premeditation, months of researching finances, the birthday trip to a remote trail, and the pattern of escalating control. The defense is building a case around self-defense and provocation. Attorney Thomas Otake told the jury that Gerhardt admits striking his wife, but not trying to kill her. The defense argues Arielle pushed him first near the cliff edge, that she picked up a rock, and that the confrontation was mutual. A critical point of contention is the syringe. Arielle says she saw one in Gerhardt's hand during the attack. For a trained anesthesiologist, that detail is chilling. It suggests a level of medical planning, but no syringe was recovered from the scene, and the defense insists it never existed. During cross-examination, defense attorneys emphasized that neither hiker witnessed how the confrontation started. One saw a single strike. The other saw only the aftermath. The question of who started it, and whether Gerhardt feared for his own life on that narrow ridge, is the central battle of this trial. Yes, he was hitting her with a rock. Arielle Konig is expected to take the stand next week. Her testimony will be the most critical moment in this trial. She'll describe the attack from her perspective, the rock strikes, the alleged syringe, the moment she thought she was going to die on her birthday. The defense will cross-examine her on the affair allegations, the WhatsApp messages, and their account of her starting the physical confrontation. The trial is expected to run through mid-April. Gerhardt Konig faces up to life in prison if convicted of second-degree attempted murder. There's also a parallel proceeding. Arielle filed for divorce days after the attack and obtained a restraining order. In her divorce petition, she alleged that Gerhardt had sexually abused and assaulted her in the months prior. Claims that paint a picture of a relationship that was far darker than anyone on the outside knew. This trial is just getting started, and it's already one of the most gripping cases of 2026. A doctor, a birthday trip to paradise, a 700-foot cliff, and two completely different stories about what happened on that trail. I'll be covering the verdict and Arielle's testimony as they happen, so subscribe and hit the bell if you don't want to miss those updates. Let me know in the comments, based on what you've heard so far, do you believe the prosecution's version or the defense? And what do you make of that phone call to his son? That's the detail I keep coming back to. I'll see you in the next one.